Chapter 1. 17 Camels and 3 Sons. Long ago, there lived an old man with his 3 sons in a deserted village, located in the vicinity of a desert. He had 17 camels, and they were the main source of his income. He used to rent out camels as a means of shipping in the desert. One day, he passed away. He had left a will, leaving his assets for his 3 sons. After the funeral and the other obligations were over, the 3 sons read the will. While their father had divided all the property he had into 3 equal parts, he had divided the 17 camels in a different way. They were not shared equally among the 3, as 17 is an odd number and a prime number, which cannot be divided. The old man had stated that the eldest son will own half of the 17 camels, the middle one will get 1/3 of the 17 camels, and the youngest one will get a share of camels as 1/9. All of them were stunned to read the will and questioned each other how to divide the 17 camels as mentioned in the will. It is not possible to divide 17 camels and give half of the 17 camels to the eldest one. It is not possible also to divide the camels for the other 2 sons. They spent several days thinking of ways to divide the camels as mentioned in the will, but none could find the answer. They finally took the issue to the wise man in their village. The wise man heard the problem and instantly found a solution. He asked them to bring all the 17 camels to him. The sons brought the camels to the wise man's place. The wise man added a camel owned by him and made the total number of camels 18. Now, he asked the first son to read the will. As per the will, the eldest son got half the camels, which now counted to 18, 2 equals 9 camels. The eldest one got 9 camels as his share. The remaining camels were 9. The wise man asked the second son to read the will. He was assigned 1/3 of the total camels. It came to 18, 3 equals 6 camels. The second son got 6 camels as his share. Total number of camels shared by the elder sons, 9 plus 6 equals 15 camels. The third son read out his share of camels. 1/9 of the total number of camels, 18, 9 equals 2 camels. The youngest one got 2 camels as his share. Totally there were 9 plus 6 plus 2 camels shared by the brothers, which counted to 17 camels. Now, the 1 camel added by the wise man was taken back. The wise man solved this problem smartly with his intelligence. Intelligence is nothing but finding a common ground to solve an issue. In short, every problem has a solution. Chapter 2. Change yourself and not the world. Long ago, people lived happily under the rule of a king. The people of the kingdom were very happy as they led a very prosperous life with an abundance of wealth and no misfortunes. Once, the king decided to go visiting places of historical importance and pilgrim centers at distant places. He decided to travel by foot to interact with his people. People of distant places were very happy to have a conversation with their king. They were proud that their king had a kind heart. After several weeks of travel, the king returned to the palace. He was quite happy that he had visited many pilgrim centers and witnessed his people leading a prosperous life. However, he had one regret. He had intolerable pain in his feet as it was his first trip by foot covering a long distance. He complained to his ministers that the roads weren't comfortable and that they were very stony. He could not tolerate the pain. He said that he was very much worried about the people who had to walk along those roads as it would be painful for them too. Considering all this, he ordered his servants to cover the roads in the whole country with leather so that the people of his kingdom can walk comfortably. The king's ministers were stunned to hear his order, as it would mean that thousands of cows would have to be slaughtered in order to get sufficient quantity of leather. And it would cost a huge amount of money also. Finally, a wise man from the ministry came to the king and said that he had another idea. The king asked what the alternative was. The minister said, "Instead of covering the roads with leather, why don't you just have a piece of leather cut an appropriate shape to cover your feet?" The king was very much surprised by his suggestion and applauded the wisdom of the minister. He ordered a pair of leather shoes for himself and requested all his countrymen also to wear shoes. Moral: instead of trying to change the world, we should try to change ourselves. Chapter 3. Greedy Boy. Sam and Tom were identical twins. They were so identical that even their mother found it difficult to distinguish one from the other, at least during their initial days on Earth. However, they were very different from each other when it came to everything other than their appearance. Sam had no friends, while Tom was a great friendship maker. Sam loved sweets, but Tom loved spicy food and detested sweets. Sam was mommy's pet and Tom was daddy's pet. While Sam was generous and selfless, Tom was greedy and selfish. As Sam and Tom grew up, their father wanted to share his fortune equally amongst them. However, Tom did not agree and he argued that whoever proved to be more intelligent and strong would have to get a bigger share of the wealth. Sam agreed. Their father decided to organize a competition between the two. He asked the two sons to walk as long as they could, and return home before sunset. The wealth would be divided in proportion to the distance covered. As a rule of the competition, they were not permitted to carry a watch to keep track of the time. The following day, Sam and Tom set out to walk. It was a rather sunny day. Sam walked slowly and steadily, while Tom broke into a sprint as he was bent on winning the race and also winning a greater portion of his father's wealth. Sam knew that it would be ideal to walk as far as possible till noon and start for home at noon, as it would take the same amount of time to walk back home. Knowing this, Sam decided to turn back for home at noon so as reach home on time. However, Tom, with his greed to earn more wealth, did not attempt to return home even after mid-noon. He walked twice as long as Sam, and thought he would still be able to return home before sunset. He hurried back when he saw the sun turn orange. Unfortunately, he could not even make it halfway home as the sun started to set. Slowly darkness engulfed his path and he had to drag his tired feet back home. He had lost the race, only because of his greed. Greed leads to loss.
Chapter 4. Weak or Strong. There was a proud teak tree in the forest. He was tall and strong. There was a small herb next to the tree. The teak tree said, "I am very handsome and strong. No one can defeat me." Hearing this, the herb replied, "Dear friend, too much pride is harmful. Even the strong will fall one day." The teak ignored the herb's words. He continued to praise himself. A strong wind blew. The teak stood firmly. Even when it rained, the teak stood strong by spreading its leaves. During these times, the herb bowed low. The teak made fun of the herb. One day, there was a storm in the forest. The herb bowed low. As usual, the teak did not want to bow. The storm kept growing stronger. The teak could no longer bear it. He felt his strength giving way. He tried his best to stand upright, but in the end, he fell down. That was the end of the proud tree. When everything was calm again, the herb stood straight. He looked around. He saw that the proud teak had fallen. Moral: pride goes before a fall.
Chapter 5. The Devoted Mother. A mother duck and her little ducklings were on their way to a lake one day. The ducklings were very happy following their mother and quacking along the way. All of a sudden, the mother duck saw a fox at a distance. She was frightened and shouted, "Children, hurry to the lake. There's a fox." The ducklings hurried towards the lake. The mother duck wondered what to do. Then she began to walk back and forth, dragging one wing on the ground. When the fox saw her, he became happy. He said to himself, "It seems she's hurt and can't fly. I can easily catch and eat her." He ran towards her. The mother duck ran, leading the fox away from the lake. The fox followed her. Now he wouldn't be able to harm her ducklings. The mother duck looked towards her ducklings and saw that they had reached the lake. She was relieved, so she stopped and took a deep breath. The fox thought that she was tired and he came closer, but the mother duck quickly spread her wings and rose up in the air. She landed in the middle of the lake and her ducklings swam to her. The fox stared in disbelief at the mother duck and her ducklings. The mother duck had tricked him cleverly. Now he could not reach them because they were in the middle of the lake.
Chapter 6. Proud Red Rose.
One beautiful spring day a red rose blossomed in a forest. As the rose looked around, a pine tree nearby said, "What a beautiful flower! I wish I was that lovely." Another tree said, "Dear pine, do not be sad. We cannot have everything." The rose turned and remarked, "It seems that I am the most beautiful flower in this forest." A sunflower raised its yellow head and asked, "Why do you say that? In this forest there are many beautiful flowers. You are just one of them." The red rose replied, "I see everyone looking at me and admiring me." Then the rose looked at a cactus and said, "Look at that ugly plant full of thorns." The pine tree said, "Red rose, what kind of talk is this? Who can say what beauty is? You have thorns too." The proud red rose looked angrily at the pine and said, "I thought you had good taste. You do not know what beauty is at all. You cannot compare my thorns to that of the cactus." "What a proud flower," thought the trees. The rose tried to move its roots away from the cactus, but it could not move. As the days passed, the red rose would look at the cactus and say insulting things, like, "This plant is useless. How sorry I am to be his neighbor." The cactus never got upset and even tried to advise the rose, saying, "God did not create any form of life without a purpose." Spring passed, and the weather became very warm. Life became difficult in the forest, as there was no rain. The red rose began to wilt. One day the rose saw sparrows stick their beaks into the cactus and then fly away, refreshed. This was puzzling, and the red rose asked the pine tree what the birds were doing. The pine tree explained that the birds were getting water from the cactus. "Does it not hurt when they make holes?" asked the rose. "Yes, but the cactus does not like to see the birds suffer," replied the pine. The rose opened its eyes in wonder and exclaimed, "The cactus has water?" "Yes, you can also drink from it. The sparrow can bring water to you if you ask the cactus for help." The red rose felt too ashamed to ask for water from the cactus, but finally it did ask for help. The cactus kindly agreed. The birds filled their beaks with water and watered the rose's roots. Thus the rose learned a lesson and never judged anyone by their appearance again.